Okay, I'm a little bit embarrassed because I did miss the live stream for Kazura drop. I had it scheduled like that it would remind me when that live stream went up because I was super excited to see what the new event was going to be and who the new servant was going to be. But I'm not gonna lie, I just uploaded the Huyan video, went to bed, and just completely forgot that there was a live stream. And the live streams usually go up around the time that I'm going to bed, so I'm sorry for people that maybe wanted to live react and watch that together. I will remember to actually make a better note that we're getting a live stream next time, but it's a little unfortunate because Kazura Drop is a pretty hype servant that we got, and she is really good. I guess it is one of the benefits of doing one of these style of videos instead of the normal ones that I get to do for newer servants where we kind of blind live react to them. I've actually gotten a chance to play around with this servant, and I think they are very, very strong. Now, I'm a little split on them because as a quick AoE servant, I was expecting them to be like this really insane looping servant, especially because of how their kit functions. I thought, oh, this will be really strong. You know, we just got the new Dante's, who's a very strong single target boss killing servant. So this one will be more of our looping servant, right? But her NP refund does leave a lot to be desired, so I'm thinking that she'll be a lot better in challenge quest, in advanced quest, more high difficulty stages, and I'm also curious to test out a double Kazura drop setup, because as you'll see as we get through this video, having two of these as opposed to saying double Ruler Scotty, I think would work out really well, in the same way that having double Tai Gong or double Tetsuka Lipoka would work really well because they just feed each other different buffs and, you know, they're able to like do debuffs on the enemy and all that good stuff. So I'm really looking forward to trying that out. What you're going to be seeing in the background is a lot of my first testing I've done with the servant, and these are kind of my first thoughts, but I'll be doing it in more of a standard ZTL fashion as a servant review. So if you like being informed on all things going on with the JP and NA side of things, make sure you leave a like in the video and subscribe to the channel, as I don't usually end up being a day behind with these videos, but hey, if I'm a day behind, it means I was doing a lot of testing. So I appreciate supporting the video, but with all that being said, enough yapping, let's start getting into her kit, starting off with her hits. And the hits don't look like they're anything too stellar, and I can tell you that from using her in some of the different quests and whatnot, that yeah, her NP gain is fairly average. I mean, you can get some pretty decent refund on a quick crit or the arts crits, but it's nothing super insane. Like, don't be expecting to be out there refunding 100% of your NP off of an arts crit or something, right? You'll see that during the Bartholomew portion of this video, where I'm going to be fighting that like 1 million HP Bartholomew, that we do get some pretty decent crits off on him, but it's not enough for us to get this huge, massive refund. It's good enough to get your NP back, but again, don't be expecting like an Ereshkigal arts card or like Masashi when her double hits are up. It's something that insane. Although we do love to see the 5 hits on the Omnipotent Extra Attack. As you may or may not know, it is a composite card that gens to Arza NP and does big boy damage. And with the advent of a pen skills, it's really good to see that you have at least that gold standard 5 hits. Now, I do want to go ahead and talk about her passive skills. We don't usually do this because most servants don't have the craziest passive skills. I usually only go through and note if they have, you know, little minor things in there, but hers are actually not too bad. Now, the debuff resistance from magic resistance, that's, you know, fine. You're going to be whiffing extra debuffs. The territory creation giving that 12% arts buff is probably why the refund on our arts cards are particularly really good, because she is getting a slight bump in their NP gain because of this. But the third passive skill is the main one to pay attention to, because she gets a 30% buff against Sakura series enemies. That is not Sakura face enemies. That is people like BB, your Melt Lilith, your Passion Lip, King Protea, and Violet whenever she ends up in the game. It basically is talking about all of these Sakura 5 servants, which if you haven't played, you know, extra CCC or didn't, you know, read the extra CCC event, you probably aren't fully aware of, but it's basically those ones. Just exclude people like, say, you know, Durga, your Parvati. It's all of the ones that are like alter egos and moon cancers. It's pretty much all of them, and also any summer versions that they'll get in the future. But the other thing that's really interesting here is that she gets a 75% bonus damage against same class enemies. You may be saying, so she's the alter ego killer, and we're actually going to work in reverse here so I can explain the skill. No, she's not just the alter ego killer. Looking at the third skill over here, you can see that she's able to change her class to whichever enemy you're targeting. So say that you have a Saber targeted for attack, she will change her class to Saber, keep the class score bonuses that you get from alter egos if you do want to go ahead and invest in that. But then she will then proc that bonus damage, which does mean that against Sakura face enemies, she's going to absolutely obliterate them. She's going to change to their class, get the power mod, and then also get, you know, that 75% bonus damage. It does mean, I believe, that if you look at the Bartholomew portion whenever we're fighting him as a rider, I believe we do lose the super effective against him because we are now technically a rider. We're no longer an alter ego, but you gain a lot of extra bonus damage that I think it's kind of worth it. It's also nice if you're in mixed class nodes. You can kind of change your class if you're trying to adapt to whatever enemies you're fighting. I mean, think about it in the way that if you have 2 sabers and an archer, you can copy the archer and you'll be neutral against said archer, but you'll also be super effective against those sabers. So you'll get the power mod on the archer guy and you'll just be normally super effective against the sabers. You know, you could do really interesting stuff like that. And this is also the reason I think she'll be better going into CQs, because this skill is chocked full of really strong effects that you will be using going into more difficult content, removing all of the debuffs off of you, getting yourself a 5k heal, which is quite a lot considering that she's going to be around 15,000 HP. It's basically going to be about a third of her HP, which is really strong. And then she reduces one enemy's defense by 50% with 30 turns, which is like absolutely insane. Because if you look at her first skill over here, she's also going to be smacking the enemy with a minus 50% quick resistance down and a 50% crit resistance down, which is absolutely nutty and insane. And this applies every turn for 3 turns. So if you're going into farming quests, don't worry, you can fire this immediately because it'll apply to every single node. Think of something like Morgan's third skill. If you've ever used that in farming to get some crit stars or whatnot, you would know that, you know, it does apply every single turn at the end of the turn if there's any enemies still remaining. It's something like that because it's a regenerating buff. And then it also gives her a 30% debuff success rate, which is going to come in handy when, you know, you look at the debuff she's doing over here on the third skill, and particularly on her NP as well. As spoiler alert, she does have a stun, which is going to be kind of her method of survivability, and she doesn't really have one innately, so being able to stun the enemies to stall an extra turn might give you the chance you need to take down the enemy and kind of move on to either finishing the stage or buying yourself another turn so then you could beat them up on the next stage or get to the next wave, something along those lines. And then on top of all that, she's also reducing all enemies NP by 1 gauge. So very powerful first skill, very powerful combo of the third skill going into the passive skill, and then her second skill. This is just why I think you could have double Kazura drop. Because think about it, with the 2 of them, you would have like 100, you know, quick resistance down, you know, 100 like crit resistance down that's applying every single turn with both of them. You'd have 100% defense down on them because of the third skills combining. And then they both have their own 50% battery, but then you also get this additional Sakura series NP buff if you are fighting or bringing another Kazura drop, you know, on your team. I guess you could also bring someone like BB, you could do like King Protect, you could do these setups with all these guys. I'd be curious to see if she actually works very well with the Summer BB. And since I did, you know, actually NP5 the BB Dubai on the Alt JP account, which is the one you're looking at right now. Also, you know, forgive me because we're on the Alt JP. I think a lot of the servants are very strong, but the CEs still leave a little bit to be desired. You know, we still got stuff like, you know, Black Grail. We were able to secure K-Scope, but we're still working on kind of base CEs, you know, stuff for like, you know, my quick servants and everything, you know, starting gauges and stuff for, you know, our quick servants and stuff along those lines. So forgive me for that one on this. And people are asking, you know, why is he using this like goofy like anniversary CE? It's like, bro, that's the best I can do on this one. But you can see that it really could have some nice goo to it, right? There's a sauce here that's being cooked that I would really like to see how good that actually could be. And then obviously if there's no other Sakura series enemies, you know, or, you know, any allies, she will reduce her own skill cooldown by 1 so she can get back, you know, popping off with the first, second, and third skill. So overall, skills are all really strong. I guess we'll just look at the NP because there's not a whole lot going on here. Its AoE only has 4 hits, which is the reason why when I first saw her, I was like, ooh, I don't think she's going to be a great farmer, because if you're a quick servant, it is imperative that you have high hits on your NP. As you can see in the background, it's enough to get the job done, but it's not very pretty. I even showed a farming node against Berserkers where she is just barely off. You know, she's like 3% off, so I use a command spell so we can still see how much damage she's doing and how much she refunds on that last one, but it's still a little difficult for her to do, and I think that's because not only is her natural NP gain not super high at 0.68%, but she only has the 4 hits on the NP over here. I tried Black Grail farming with her. She can get really close with it, but I've not really been seeing a whole lot of luck in doing that. It might require, say, a higher NP level so you can get more overkill, especially because again, you only have the 4, hits on this one. It could also be that because my third skill is I think only like skill level 5 or 6 right now, while the other ones are skill 10 because I ran out of materials. It could be that that little bit of extra damage would have offered a little bit more in the way of overkill on the enemies. But regardless, you're not really getting this servant to be a looper. I mean, obviously you can see here she's reducing all the enemies' attack by 20% for 3 turns, 40% chance to stun them that is being buffed by her third skill buff success rate, and then she's further reducing all of their defense by 20 to 40% depending on overcharge for 3 turns. I mean, she is just debuffing everybody into oblivion. One other really funny thing, if you just want to consider this, her third skill, or I guess the third append skill, the anti-class trait that she has is against moon cancers. I think that's hilarious because the whole event is like, I'm trying to find, my prime dad or whatever. And, all the Sakura 5, if you don't know the lore, basically kind of view BB as their parent somewhat. I'm really summarizing like the whole of like CCC and then the Fox Trail manga. But like if you've read some of their Valentines, or if you've looked at like say the CCC event in Fate Grand Order, they reference some stuff like that. BB's like, bro, I am your dad, I created all of you, you have to listen to me. And Melt's like, I'm not listening to you. So I think it's really funny that it's like, because of the whole event and what's based around, that she's like, particularly I'm gonna obliterate all the the moon cancers, which I think is really funny. But overall, is she a must summon? I know the title of the video is going to be like, is Kazura Drop a must summon? And I don't think she is. I think she is insanely good, but I don't think this is going to make or break your account if you do not have them. Obviously, I think they're like an S tier servant off first glance and testing them out, but you gotta understand what you're more getting from this servant is kind of like Space Ereshkigal, where you do not get them to be a farmer. They're okay at doing that, but they're ideally going to shine going into challenge quests, advanced quests, the Bleached Earth challenge missions, boss fights, stuff along those lines. That's where you're going to see these servants really show their value. And they're not the only servants that can do that. Just as like, technically even top tier farmers, like say somebody like Summer Ibuki that we just got over on the NA side of things, if you don't get her, you can still make do with somebody else, but obviously that's like the A1 person you want to be doing. And I do think Kazura Drop is that A1 character for going into, difficult missions and whatnot. But if you already don't like quick style of play, or you think you already have somebody that you really invested in, I would consider just kind of using them instead of, summoning for a whole new servant, especially because we probably will be getting another 1 or 2 new servants coming out later on this year. I mean, at least 1, right? Like we still don't have Guda Guda, so surely, fingers crossed, Copium, we're at least going to be getting 1 new servant for that whenever we see Guda Guda during November or December, whenever that decides to drop. But I don't think she's an absolute must summon. Your account is like worse off for not having them. But realistically, FGO is one of those games that the real only must summons, quote unquote, are all the supports. And unfortunately for Kazura Drop, they did recently bring back Oberon, Castoria. I think even Castorscotty was on that 30 million downloads banner like rotation. And so I'm imagining a lot of people have spent all of their Saint Chords over on trying to get those servants instead of, waiting to see what the next event was going to be, because who can blame them? Once you can secure a lot of those servants, your account gets a lot better. But suffice to say, don't think she's a must summon. I think she's really, really good, and your account will be a bit better if you do have her, but it's not like it's going to ruin your account for not having her. If you've been using the new Kazura Drop, let me know your experience in the comments down below. I've been having a lot of fun with her because she just does so much damage, bro. She hits so hard, even at NP1. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. I'm going to continue to have a lot of fun with that. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, get out of your hair, and I will catch you guys in the next video that may or may not come out later today or maybe tomorrow. We'll see. I got to see if I can still maintain doing 2 videos a day. I would like to keep doing that, but we'll see if that's still manageable. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice one, and I'll catch y'all in the next video. Peace, late guys.